Hello and welcome to another episode of the Embodied Union podcast. I'm Lindsay.
I'm Charlie.
And today we're going to be talking about our journey with Shibari.
We are Japanese rope bondage that I get so many questions about. We practice a lot and I often we film and I use it as content on my social media. And so I often get questions around why do we do it? What's going on there? Is it just sexual? Like the why. So we just thought we'd have a really cool conversation about.
Yeah, answer all the questions, right? And I guess coming from my point of view, I think looking from the outside in, it's quite polarizing. I'm sure that's probably why you want to use it, maybe, as far as content goes, because I think for the untrained person looking in, it might be quite confronting. Anything that's to do with BDSM is kind of like it's a little bit taboo. You know, I just want to be in a relationship where we like each other and things are peaceful and, you know, those sorts of things. And then to have that part of our relationship be that we also do this rope art just seems like...
I was going to say maybe we should just clarify what Shibari is in case that someone's like, what you talking about?
And look, I am no expert when it comes to Shibari. So my limited knowledge of it is that it's obviously a Japanese style rope bondage and Kenbaku. And it's it can be seen as RBDSM, which is the bondage aspect. It can have a sexual nature. My thought around it is, knowing my erotic blueprints, I'm kind of getting off track a little bit, so we'll just stick to it. It's something that, you know, we use as a way to create connection, and it's almost like a mindfulness practice for us, I would almost say. What's it like for you, being the bunny?
It's definitely changed over time. I remember before I started practicing Shibari and when Lindsay says as the bunny is the bottom. The bunny is the person who is being tied and then the one tying is the rigger. And so I remember knowing about Shibari. I don't even remember how it came into my awareness, but wondering if it could be a kink that I had. I've always been quite open, curious about BDSM, and I used to feel quite blocked to pleasure in my body. So I was always trying to find ways of maybe finding my pleasure. And I remember being interested. There was something about Shibari and the nature of someone being dominant, someone being more submissive, that I felt like I wanted to explore. And so I tried it with a previous partner and the energy just wasn't quite right. I remember we went and got a private with this random guy on the internet, the local guy that we found to come and just show us. And I remember being there and the guy was showing my partner practicing a tie on me. And he was such a nerdy guy, really big nerdy guy. Walked in DVDs from the top of the roof to the floor and just game stuff, a gamer. But the minute he started to tie me, there was an energy in that. And I felt his dominance and I felt my body respond to that. And so I was really excited to go home with my partner and I was like, yeah, this is good. And the same feeling didn't happen. We couldn't replicate that same energy. And I have so much compassion for my partner at the time because he was just in the practice and trying to learn how to tie. And I remember it just I just wasn't feeling it. And then so I kind of put it down. We put it down, we broke up. And then meeting you had only just kind of had one set of ropes and just started, and I'd had that limited experience, and so we kind of came at it from the same level of really beginners,
absolutely
wanting to explore. And it's been interesting, as you mentioned, sometimes it has felt quite sexual and arousing, but I would say mostly for me Shibari is deeply meditative. It's deeply relaxing. Of course, there's times when I'm really your workshop bunny and you're practicing something and I can get tired and I want to have a podcast on or I'll listen to watch a movie. But if we're in the energy of really doing a scene and you're playing with me, it's I find it really relaxing. And one of my favorite things in the world is when you touch me. like not even in a sexual way, like you touch my skin. And so of course with Shibari, there's so much physical touch.
Yeah.
I'm constantly having my hair moved out the way, or as you're tying, you'll just kiss me on the neck or on the arm. So it's like all of that ticks such a big box for me.
Yeah. And I think that for me, like me coming into it, like you're saying, is I remember I bought a rope from a sex shop. I literally
The adult
bought like
shop.
an adult shop rope, like nylon, polyester, not
Bright
even
purple.
not even jute. And I remember it was 20 meters long, and traditionally a hank, like a length of rope in Shibari, which is jute rope, is 8 meters. So I was just like making it all up as I went, and just really enjoying the leadership part of it. For me was like, this is like the practice of, oh, I want to lead more in my relationship and want to be a better like leader. So it's like, this was the ideal practice of like, how can I be leading something that is intimate, or is something that we can do as a couple. And it's sort of just like, it ticks a lot of boxes for me as well in that practice. And it also, when we started, it was like nests was such a thing for you. So it felt like having and creating a nest and creating rope was like a way to do something in the nest, you know? So I really, really enjoyed that. And for me, not that my erotic blueprint is around kink, but it's definitely around sensuality. And so for me, I feel like what I'm bringing, or what I like to bring to rope or to doing and practicing Shibari as a rigger, is just like making it feel really smushy, you know? So it's like, it's slow, there's softness, there's sweetness, and there's a level of like firmness and holding, and you know, the untying is just as, you know, like special as the tying up, you know. So I think that for me is something that I really, really enjoy as a rigger.
I, again, as someone who loves to be touched, the untying, that's kind of what I do it for, you know, like, especially that's why I'm so willing to put my hand up to be your practice bunny, because when it's like quite workshoppy and not a scene and not sensual, it's like Lindsay's practicing a certain tie, I get tired of standing, my body just, I get exhausted, but I always know the untie is coming, and that's just when I get to be a complete potato and have my partner just like drag rope across my skin, and like he's very good at making sure he does it really slowly, and it's like, it's always worth it just to get to that. I like absolutely adore the untying. I did also want to name, because part of the reasons, not so much now because I feel very like safe in my body, but for years I didn't feel safe in my body. I felt quite traumatized and shut down to sex and everything, didn't want to be touched. And having a really safe partner, and safety is the key, you want to do this with someone who is really safe, and allowing them to tie you, which is really vulnerable, it can be, and then feeling really held and contained and led by the masculine, it kind of helped me like rewrite a lot of the stories I had in my head around, I'm not safe, then my body is being taken from, I'm being used for sex, and like all the narratives that I had. Shibari was really healing because I got to be really like surrendered, contained, held, loved on, and just gather so much evidence that like it was safe to surrender. And so I think like there's a beautiful opportunity, healing opportunity with Shibari if someone has any kind of stuff. But of course you need to have a partner that you fully trust and you know that can hold you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when you're doing it with your partner, or you're thinking about doing it with your partner, is like getting some privates or getting some lessons. Like that's been my journey. Like, you know, Charlotte and I straight away found like a Shibari workshop that we could go to, Rope Rendezvous back in the day.
On the Gold Coast?
Yeah, and we would go to that once a month, and we would learn the basics. And you really want to, like, you want to know where are the nerves, where are the, you know, the do's and the don'ts and how to's, and there's just so many little intricate things that just make the experience so much better for both the rigger and the bunny, that if you know some of the solid foundations, you can do so much. You can do so much with so little. Like one rope, you know, you can do so much with that. You don't need to have the whole rig, and you don't need 10 ropes.
Suspending and
All of that. Like there's always like the desire to want to be really good and do all those things. But I feel like some of the best moments and scenes have been just with like barely anything.
I'll often have Lindsay, he'll want to practice something quite intricate, so I kind of have to stand around and be uncomfortable for 15 minutes standing on my feet. And then afterwards it's like, okay, now can we do one, like a single rope play scene where, and like that's kind of how we collaborate on it. And like a single rope play is just so fun, and it's not much to really think about.
Yeah.
And it's really like the energy that you bring to it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that as a rigger, which is like, you know, the person tying, it's that opportunity to practice, to learn, to lead, to be really present with your partner, to, you know, be able to watch them and see how they're breathing, see how they're responding, you know, keeping yourself present, but them present as well in the tying. And, you know, I'm sure from the outside in, because we've had so many people reach out and ask about it, it's to me, it's like a mindfulness practice. It really is.
Partnered
it's something,
meditation.
yeah,
Feels like.
it's like there's not a lot of words. It's really like beautiful. It's really subtle. And I guess, you know, for the couples that maybe like to have toys in the bedroom, it's like a rope is like a toy. It's like something that you can both play with to create a dynamic change or something that's different. Some spontaneity, some spice, some fun.
I think it's so interesting because I, as we were saying in the beginning, I do a lot of content on my Instagram where the video is a Shibari scene that we've done, and then I write like my therapeutic stuff on the top. But I'll get so many comments around like, fuck that, like being tied up and hurt. And it's like, I know you can use rope for like that more BDSM style, like you could tie me up and hurt me a little bit, but like I actually am such a baby.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I do not like
Disclaimer.
Disclaimer, I am such a baby, and I do not like it. My pain tolerance is really low, and like for us, Shibari is not that at all. It's really sweet, and it's just like it's a way that we can create intimacy with really not having to do much else, you know. And it's also a way to create polarity, because there's the inherent, one is leading and one is receiving, one is being more dominant, one is more receptive and surrendered. So it's like a great way for us to like bring energy into our relationship, you know. Like couples can just fall into autopilot when they're in the day-to-day, you know, and be habitual, and maybe especially long-term relationships, polarity can start to flatten out a little bit, and Shibari's a way that you can intentionally bring it back in.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's a massive state change as well. It's like, you know, if you're a couple listening to this and you have a feminine partner that's really in a masculine, I think this would be an epic practice for her to be able to surrender and to be held. And if you think about it, the constraint of the rope in certain positions feels like hugging.
It does.
Feels like holding. So it's
when I'm like this, and you can't see on Spotify, but my hands are bound in front of me and Lindsay's behind me. So I've got like the pressure and the holding from behind, and my own arms are in front of me. I'm being hugged from all angles. It's like, oh, I can just relax because I'm so held. Yeah.
Yeah, and it can be things like even to the point of eventually moving towards like a partial suspension where you learn how to, you know, like lift a part of the body while most of the body, those sorts of things creates like a subtle inversion, which can be really relaxing.
This is so, I've only just realized this because we got quite excited. We have a rig to suspend now, and we've actually been doing heaps of partials, because when Lindsay puts just maybe 2 legs up, my body's fully held. It's like I'm in yoga, it's Viparita Karani, it's waterfall pose, you know, or like a restorative shoulder stand. So like literally my blood flow is coming down to my womb, to my heart, to my head. And then when he unties that and all the blood kind of spreads back out, it's like I've been in a restorative yoga class, and it's just puts me to sleep.
Yeah,
He'll be untying me and I'll be asleep before the ropes are even off my body. And like people ask why we do Shibari. I'm like, you have no idea how relaxing it is.
Yeah, yeah. It's been something that I've just absolutely enjoyed, and I knew I would. I love Japanese culture,
And you
and
love photography and art, and you're so creative.
yeah. So like for me, as like an artistic expression, Shibari is incredible for that,
Yeah.
and just again learning it properly. Like having, I've got, and I hope she's okay with me mentioning this, but like my mentor Ropey Jen
Ropey Jen
is
on the Gold
incredible.
Coast.
Yes.
She does do privates.
Yeah.
Highly recommend.
Highly recommend.
And Rope House.
Yeah, and Rope House do events on the Gold Coast pretty much monthly to bi-monthly. So 2025, look out for that on the Gold Coast.
They're amazing.
Absolutely incredible crew of people. So
Ropey Jen is the best.
yeah, and yeah, so it's just like finding somebody that you might be able to get some lessons off or sessions off and learn and take it slow. Like that's the thing that I know that I did do. There was times where I really wanted to progress further, but like a lot of my mentors have said, just like take your time, just get really good at it, get good with the basics, and then you can build from there. As always, it's like having the safety aspect I think is really important. Like if you're going to have a rope, make sure you've got proper scissors in case anything goes wrong that you can just cut out of, and knowing where the nerves are on the body. So it's just like they're the things that you just don't want to jump into just doing rope and think that everything's going to be okay, because there's definitely inherent risks when it comes to it.
Yeah,
and
like
a bunny
as the bunny, you want to make sure, like, you don't want to do it inebriated. You don't want to be like having some drinks and doing shibari, because you want your body awareness to be on. You know, like I'm constantly checking if my fingers are tingling, how are my nerves feeling. Like, yes, when you're untying me, I'm falling straight to sleep. But like if you're doing anything that is compressing where nerves can be, you just want to be aware, just aware of your body.
Yeah.
Be safe.
Yeah. I think that's...
When are you gonna let me tie you up? When are you gonna be my bunny?
I'm not sure. I'm definitely open to it. I'm definitely open
Well, that's
to
the
it.
thing, you can flip it, you know? It's something that you can play with.
Yeah, I definitely like leading it though. It's
I
something
really like feeling your leadership.
Yeah.
And just, I really resonated with what you said before around, like, if a woman's operating quite heavily in a masculine, like, from the moment I wake up and I have my daily practices and my yoga and my beach walks and whatever, but as soon as I get into my business, I'm in my head. And I'm in my head for the whole day. And I am, like, really there. And Shibari is one thing that, like, takes me back out, puts me back in my body. And I'm so grateful I have practices like this. Otherwise, I've been in the experience of in relationship, in my masculine, not really open to intimacy because I'm just so in my head, and this has been a hack for me.
Yeah, big time. Big time. And it's, yeah, just something that, again, just really enjoying that journey. It's something that we get to do together as something that can
Gourmet intimacy time.
Yeah, so if you have any more questions about that, I'm sure we'll get a bunch as always. And thank you so much for tuning in for this week.
Thank you for listening.
If you want to follow me, I'm Lindsay B on Instagram.
I am Charlie S. Hannah. You can go look at all my Shibari content.
And if you're a couple that are wanting to go deeper into the work of having an embodied union, we have a program that we run, a 3-month program, and there are spots available for 2025.
Yes.
So if you are interested, please reach out. We would love to have a conversation with you, taking your relationship to the next level.
Thank you. Thank you, my lover.
Love you, Critter.